I'm flowing under bridges, then I'm flying through the sky. I'm traveling down cold metal, I'm just a tear in a baby's eye. Let me flow into the ocean. Let me get
The Who's Pete Townshend hears celestial music.
let me become, let the tide in rush over me. Oh yeah. I am not the actor. This can't be the scene. But I am in the
Pete Townshend, born the 19th of May 1945, is an English rock musician, composer, multi-instrumentalist, vocalist, songwriter and author. Known principally as the guitarist for the rock group The Who, his career with The Who spans more than 40 years. Townshend is and was the primary songwriter for The Who, having written well over 100 songs for the band's 12 studio albums, including concept albums and the rock operas Tommy and Quadrophenia. He has also written popular rock and roll radio staples such as Who's Next, compilations such as Odds and Sods 1974, numerous songs for his solo albums, as well as radio jingles and television theme songs. Although known primarily as a guitarist, he also plays keyboards, banjo, accordion, harmonica, ukulele, mandolin, violin, synthesizer, bass guitar and drums. He is self-taught on all of these instruments. Townshend married Karen Astley in 1968. They have 3 children. Emma, born 1969, Aminta, born 1971, and Joseph, born 1989. Townshend and his wife separated in 1994, but only finally divorced after 14 years separation. He is currently married to arranger and musician Rachel Fuller. He and Fuller married in December 2016. However, they had actually been together for more than 20 years. They met at a rehearsal studio back in October 1996 and first worked together on the Lifehouse Chronicles Orchestra project, but started dating a little later in December 1997. Townshend has also contributed to and authored many newspaper and magazine articles, book reviews, essays, books and scripts. His 2012 autobiography is called Who I Am. He has received a great many awards. For example, 1983, a Brit Award for Lifetime Achievement, 1990, induction into the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame, 1994, number 3 in Dave Marsh's 1994 list of best guitarists, 2001, the Grammy Lifetime Achievement Award, 2008, Kennedy Center Honors, and 2016, he and Roger Daltrey of The Who received the George and Ira Gershwin Award for Lifetime Musical Achievement.
Then did the average man in the street. There's a spiritual wave in the world at the moment. The use of drugs, the desperation, the overpopulation, everything points to the fact that people are being hit the hardest spiritually.
In Love with Meher Baba.
Tommy, it's the most spiritually oriented work and the most powerful work that we've done to date, and that this was done immediately after I heard about Baba.
Peter was a very devoted follower of Meher Baba, and it was Meher Baba's influence that helped him to turn away from drugs. By April 1968, he announced himself Barber's disciple. Tommy, his rock opera, was inspired by the teachings of Barber. In Love with Mayor Barber. Pete Townshend, Rolling Stone, number 71, November the 26th, 1970. I first heard about Mayor Barber from Mike McInerney in autumn 1967. Ronnie Lane, the bass player for the Small Faces, was a fellow Mayor Barber devotee dating back to the same year. What was so sneaky about the whole affair was the way Barber crept into my life. Barber only asked people for their love, not their possessions or even their lives, just their love. When you begin to realise that your own suffering has a purpose, you can bear it with dignity and poise, admit defeat, or that you were wrong without feeling that your life is worthless.
It seemed to me that I started to question my own philosophy of life directly, because I started to feel that I'd played a game with myself. The fact that I can perform on the stage, the fact that I can write a song, the fact that I can enjoy sexual relationships, the fact that I can enjoy life, right, I attributed to drugs.
His rejection of drugs.
I stopped, if you like, using drugs with a need to know, rather than starting with a need to know. It was the trauma of the event, the trauma of the terror of the thing, which made me think, what have I been doing to myself?
Townshend was one of the first major rock stars to turn against the use of drugs, and wrote about it in 1970. My Last Dope-Smoking Days, Pete Townshend, Rolling Stone, number 71, November the 26th, 1970. It is on this basis that I approach another of Barber's most powerful and controversial statements. Drugs are harmful, mentally, spiritually, and physically. I repeat these words parrot fashion, not knowing honestly whether I would have said it myself had Barber not said it first. One thing I do know, the last acid trip I took on a plane coming back from the Monterey Pop Festival would have been my last, whether I had heard the above from Barber or not. Acid had taken me apart, but not put me back together again, and it is clutching another of Barber's statements about drugs that I justify what I did to my brain. For a few sincere seekers, the use of hallucinogenic drugs may have instilled in them a state of longing that has brought them into my contact, but further injection would not only be harmful, but have no purpose. Rick Chapman runs Mayor Barber Information in San Francisco. Rick explained that pot was in fact hallucinogenic. Barber specifically named it in his sweeping condemnation of hallucinogenic drugs. I once sat on a wooden stool on the floor of a BBC television studio and openly admitted I used dope. That was in 1966. It alienated me from the rest of the guys. Keith was not yet in the group in 1964. It made me feel superior and extremely paranoid. I felt that it was my music because I was stoned and they weren't. On the surface, it seemed I owed a lot to dope. It gave me confidence, it gave me beautiful girls, it gave me R&B. What it didn't give me was the feeling that any of the above were really mine. They were all thanks to dope. That's where the paranoia came in. If I hadn't been stoned, that solo would have been a bummer. If I hadn't been stoned, that chick would not have wanted to know. If I hadn't been stoned, the sun wouldn't have come up. I do not lay awake worrying about that particular problem anymore. I have written some of my best songs straight. Played the best solos of my life straight. And despite the fact that I had to get thoroughly plastered to write the first love note to my wife, we have lived straight ever after. The crux of it is that I am now stoned all the time. It's not a dizzy smashed high, it's a fairly alert and natural one. Just about as natural as you can get.
The Jimi Hendrix experience is over. The acid rock musician died today in a London hospital, apparently from an overdose of drugs.
Drug highs are not a shortcut to enlightenment. A tragic number of naturally gifted musicians and composers have died or lost their marbles through drugs, legal and illegal. This is Canned Heat's Alan Wilson, who died aged 27. Alan died from barbiturate poisoning, a legal, doctor-prescribed drug at the time. His death came just 2 weeks before the deaths of Jimi Hendrix, who died from barbiturate-related asphyxia, aged 27. 4 weeks before the death of Janis Joplin, who died from heroin, aged 27. And 10 months before the death of Jim Morrison, who died of a heart attack caused by heroin, aged 27. The Beach Boys' Dennis Wilson, brother of Brian, was given an ultimatum in 1983 to check into rehab. But he drowned, diving from a friend's boat. He was 39. Michael Jackson died from an overdose of propofol administered by his personal physician, Conrad Murray, who was convicted in 2011 of involuntary manslaughter. Wikipedia. Sid Barrett, the co-founder of Pink Floyd in 1965, was their original frontman and primary songwriter. He was naturally gifted, but musically active for fewer than 10 years. In April 1968, he was ousted from the band amid speculation of mental illness and excessive use of psychedelic drugs. Wikipedia. In 1972, Barrett left the music industry, retired from public life, and strictly guarded his privacy until his death. He dedicated himself to gardening. Pink Floyd recorded the 1975 song suite Shine On You Crazy Diamond and the 1979 rock opera The Wall as a tribute to him. He died in 2006. And last but by no means least, The Who's own Keith Moon. Married and with a daughter, seen here with his daughter Amanda and some of his collection of cars. On September the 6th, 1978, Moon was found dead of an overdose of a sedative prescribed to treat alcohol withdrawal. He was just 32. Townshend's life was probably literally saved by Mayor Barber. My last dope smoking days, Peter Townshend, Rolling Stone, number 71, November the 26th, 1970. Barber didn't go on at any real length about dope. He's too compassionate to be overly heavy. But Barber did emphasise to a young devotee in about 1966 that the biggest single gesture a man could make for youth would be to spend his life trying to show the dangers of dope. Remember, Barber was concerned with a set of people that felt the psychedelics held the key to religious experience, to universal consciousness, God in a pill. Barber did not concede that an acid high was even a minuscule part of the high that he himself enjoyed. He said it was a dream within a dream. In fact, getting high is getting low, going further into the illusion. Reality is beyond our imaginations, we insisting that we prefer experience to the blissful peace of universality. I am not the spiritually advanced seeker I imagine myself to be. Reading too much Hermann Hesse and Idris Shah can be a bad thing in that respect. One builds a sort of hero worship for the seeker in the same way one would for a film star. It's only recently that I have begun to see that Barber's word is an eternal word. Its impact reaches well into the past and the future. The wave of spiritual fervour and obsession that sweeps youth today is a reflection of the force of that word, that expression of almighty loneliness.
Music is a spiritual medium, there's no doubt about it. It's an elevator of the spirit. I mean,
the natural talent of Pete Townshend.
You listen to certain pieces of classical music in order to get a specific high. I mean, it's like almost like a meditative process. You listen to the Alleluia chorus to become spiritually elevated. You know, I mean, there are rock songs that do that to me. They elevate me as much, if not more, these little three-chord wonders.
Auditory hallucinations can result in a person hearing voices, but they can also result in the person hearing celestial music. And Peter Townshend stated in an almost throwaway comment in an article in the Daily Express entitled "Homeless Man Turns Haunting Noises in His Head into a Symphony," Thursday, May the 2nd, 2013, by Mike Ridley, that as an 11-year-old he had heard celestial music. For most of his life, rock legend Pete Townshend has been haunted by the music of an angelic orchestra and choir. The Who's lead guitarist has tried without success to recreate the heavenly sounds he first heard in his head as an 11-year-old on a River Thames boat ride. Townshend tells of hearing the music while on a boat with his Sea Scout troop. I heard violins, cellos, horns, harps and voices, which increased in number until I could hear the threads of an angelic choir. It was a sublime experience. I have never heard such music since, and my personal music ambition has always been to rediscover that sound and relive its effect on me.
Rippling over the canyon, and I'm boiling in the train. Let me flow into the ocean. Let me get back to the sea. Let me be strong and let me be calm. Let the tide, I want it to rush over me. Oh yeah.